So glad you are with us on the Retirement Compass. Brad Johansen, Tim Kulhanek, Jeremy Gove, Stonebridge Wealth Systems. It is always a pleasure to be with you guys on set.
Same with you, Brad.
We go into these things for educational purposes, right? You've tried to figure out how to do what you've been doing for decades, and now you're trying to figure out this retirement thing the first time and do it right the first time, which is why we try to cover a lot of different things for you to make it a little bit easier. Now we're going to go into 3 hidden forces that are threatening the security of your retirement. We'll probably cover some of the things that you've been questioning maybe for a long time. Tim, I want to start with healthcare.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, and maybe still, this is the predominant fear for a lot of people on how am I going to figure out this healthcare thing, the Medicare, the numbers, and there's a lot to go with this. So I'll leave it wide open for you. Why do we say this may be one of the biggest, if for not a lot of people, the biggest fear or hidden threat for them going into retirement?
When folks come in and engage in planning with one of the experienced advisors on our team, we have a process we call NAVI. It's like navigate, right? N-A-V-I.
You're so technical.
We're pretty clever, if you haven't figured that out.
Very creative.
I love it.
Needs analysis, vision, implementation.
Okay.
The first meeting is dedicated to finding out, who are you? Why are you here? Why did the phone ring? And what's important to you? You're here, you want to go here. What does this look like? And then it's our job to make sure that we take you through the valleys and not peak to peak and have you worn out by the time you get to retirement and you're unable to enjoy it, right?
Over the mountain and through the woods.
Yeah.
But part of that process is looking at, this is the Retirement Compass, is our planning process. There's the meeting process, needs analysis, vision, implementation. What we implemented is a Retirement Compass planning process. Income, investment, tax, health care, and legacy. And you can't leave one out because a decision in one area has a corresponding impact to all the other areas. Healthcare, most folks who come in, healthcare, they know it's an expense, but it's kind of an out of sight, out of mind. You know what I mean by that? In that,
Well, I don't need it right now.
I don't need it now, and how do most people pay for their health insurance while they're working?
Through their employer.
Yeah.
So they don't
comes-
have to think about it.
They don't see it. It comes out of their paycheck,
Yeah.
right? Doesn't work that way in retirement, right? You're paying for something.
And you're going to see it.
And you're going to see it, and you need to see it. So when we do this needs analysis, visual implementation, we use some different pieces of software that assist us with that. I silo out healthcare expenses. I say, listen, you told me your expenses, you told me you spend $7,000 a month. But that's what you spend after you get your paycheck. Your health insurance already came out of that. Well, now it's not coming out of that. You're still spending the $7,000. We've got to add back in the health expenses that you're going to have. Jeremy gave me a stat. According to 2026 Health View Services report, the average healthy 65-year-old couple will spend $17,003, very specific, $17,003 in their first year of retirement on health care, which includes Medicare B, D, A should be covered, Medigap, dental premiums, and out-of-pocket expenses. By the time they reach age 85, annual costs climbed over $55,000. Now, why is that important? Because if we're not siloing those out and looking at them as a separate expense that we have to account for because previously it was coming out of our check, we're going to underplan and be unprepared for the rising cost of healthcare, which is going up at probably double the rate of general inflation.
Okay, you've overwhelmed
I can do that.
Navi.
Yeah.
The idea going forward is, this is a massive amount of money that we're under preparing for most of the time.
Oftentimes, if you're not accounting for it separately, because think about it, most people are like, oh, I think I spend around $5,000, $8,000, $10,000. This happens in every meeting, by the way, Brad. Did you ask somebody how much you spend per month? And, oh, well, let's see, you got taxes, the utilities, like the electric bill. How much do they charge you to pick up the trash, honey? Like, that's not what I'm talking about, guys. I'm talking about your burn rate.
Yeah.
If $12,000 is deposited in your accounts between your 2 checks or 4 checks, if you will, for every 2 weeks, every month, how much is left? Well, none. Okay, so where's it going? This is why it's important.
Budget. Here, I'm going to do this for you because we do this on a bunch of shows for education to be able to figure out where it's better to be informed than uninformed. So they have continually created things to make it easier for you. StonebridgeRetirement.net. What haven't I thought about? What are you spending it on? What have you thought about going forward? Do you know any of these hidden things? Scan the QR code, StonebridgeRetirement.net if you're going to the website. It's easier just to scan the code. So just scan the code to be able to go through the quiz and say, what am I ready for? What am I not ready for? We're staying on medical. I'll leave this for a lot of the show for you to be able to get a chance. Medicare Part B premiums. What did they jump? 9.7% this year?
Yeah.
So what's that actually mean?
So the cost of Medicare Part B that's deducted from your Social Security check jumped by 9.7%. What was inflation last year? Or what is inflation this year? 2.8, 2.7, that's what they're telling us.
I think that's what Social Security got, right?
Yeah,
Something like that?
Yeah, that's what Social Security got. So last year, Brad, the Medicare premium for Part B was $185. That was for 2025.
Yep.
This year, that has jumped to $202.90. Okay, so we're going to be very specific on the show. So that's the cost. So that was a jump of $17.90 a month.
That's a big bump.
That is a big bump. When you think about $185, that's the number.
Yeah.
Now it's an additional amount. So again, to mention this, the 2.8% cost of living adjustment that you got from Social Security, a big portion of that, or a good sized portion of that, is eaten up by the Medicare Part B premium. So one of the things that I see a lot of people doing when they come in and they say, we've already got a financial plan in place, I want to see it. So we walk through that and they'll say, well, my Social Security is going to go up by 3%, at least 3% a year. So they count that in as additional income every year. That's not exactly accurate because we have to deduct out the cost of healthcare.
Okay.
Right? So the Medicare premium. So if nearly $18 of that is immediately consumed by Medicare Part B premiums, you're netting about $38 out of the $56 additional dollars a month that you're supposed to be getting with that Social Security increase.
It doesn't match.
It doesn't match.
So if healthcare is going to keep going up, and look, the government's going to tell us we're always going to be right around 2% kind of thing.
Right.
And we're looking at 9.7% now, and then into the future. Why do the numbers not match, and what are we supposed to do about that?
It's interesting. If you actually look at the government statistics on healthcare expenses, like healthcare costs, since like 2023 or something like that, they show that the average cost for healthcare in this country has decreased by something like 19%.
Boy, it sure feels like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mentioned that at a workshop one time. I said, raise your hand if your healthcare expenses have decreased by 19%.
Yeah, come on.
I had one person.
Somebody raised their hand? Wow.
I said, okay, and where do you go to the doctor, and what insurance
Can
plan
we
do you have?
follow you?
And we'll go with you.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Obviously, that's not happening. Now, why is healthcare going up? I think that there's dozens of reasons, but something that I think is really important to piggyback on what Jeremy said before we go to a break is Medicare shouldn't be overlooked because there's a few different ways the government can raise revenue. There's taxes. We all know, okay, income tax, sure. Obviously, you got property taxes in Nebraska. Those are a nuisance. But taxes, fees, and surcharges. So think of Medicare Part B like a fee, right? You got to pay the fee to get the product.
Right.
But there's also surcharges, something called a income-related monthly adjustment amount, or IRMA.
Your aunt.
And yes, I actually had a distant half family
I didn't mean
member.
to go there.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's every time I say the word, I think, like, oh, Irma, that's Jake's mom, right? Anyways, what dictates? So if you look at the Social Security trustees, like their annual report, you look at it and they're like, hey, by 2033, we're going to be out of money in the trust fund. I don't know how many $1 trillion are in it now, 3-4 trillion, something like that. But they're cashing in those bonds. By 2033, we think, because it's a moving target, we're going to be out of money and we're only going to be able to pay 77 cents on the dollar. So automatic 27% haircut or whatever, or 23% haircut. If you look at the Medicare report, Part A says the same thing. Hey, look, this is like Titanic and we're just rearranging the furniture at this point. Part B, the supplemental medical insurance, SMI trust, says, well, looks good. How can it look good? Look at the appendix. It says because we dictate what these premiums are. We, Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, we, the government, there's no inflation benchmark that dictates how much people pay for Medicare Part B. That's why it went up by 9.6%. It's not linked or tethered to a objective benchmark, and neither are the IRMAs. The average increase for the first IRMA, again, for those who don't know about it, income-related monthly adjustment amount, the government doesn't have to raise taxes to raise revenue. They can just move different phase-outs and phase-ins and thresholds and say, hey, because you earn over a certain amount, you have to pay more, like a means testing. And that's what they do with Medicare. So that first IRMA, since I think 2019, the average increase has been like 7.4% per year.
Goodness.
In other words, over 10 years, what will that first IRMA have done?
Doubled.
Are you ready for all of it? Look, the government's going to change the rules whenever they want. It doesn't matter who your president is. If you're going to be retired for another 30 years, you've got 15 more elections of Congress where they can change the rules whenever they want. Are you ready for that? Or adjusted for that? Or have a plan for that? If you've gone to the QR code in trying to get ready, we'll bring it back up for you, but you're going to want to make a phone call. I can't keep up with all of these rules, the way they change it. 866-256-7778. Do you guys know the rules? Yes. At Stonebridge Well System, the idea is we need to know how they're going to adjust the goalposts in your game, because the object is to win the game. Your retirement should be a winner. 866-256-7778. It's not without a plan. Let's put one together, put together a comprehensive financial plan for you. It's free. Make the call. Take advantage of the rules the way they are now. We'll be right back.
Crossing the open ocean takes a strong captain. Some days the sea is calm, other days storms rise, but a good captain keeps the crew steady and the ship on course. As the harbor approaches, everything changes. The water is shallow, the channels are tight, and tides and currents shift, and unseen rocks wait below the surface. That's when the harbor pilot comes aboard. Their one job is to get the ship home safely. Hi, I'm Jeremy Gove with Stonebridge Well Systems, and your financial journey is no different. You've crossed the ocean of your career, but retirement is the harbor, with new challenges like taxes, Social Security timing, and healthcare costs. At Stonebridge Well Systems, we know how to guide families safely to shore. Call the number below to schedule your complimentary retirement strategy session.
Are you ready to retire? A lot of people, they're not sure. But when it comes to your future, I don't know, just isn't a great answer. That's why we created the Retirement Reality Check to help you get a clear picture of exactly where you stand. It covers income, Social Security, taxes, healthcare, and more. In around 5 minutes, you'll know how prepared you are and where you might need some help. Scan the QR code and take this quiz today.
Hey, thanks for being with us. Retirement Compass, Brad Johansen with Tim and Jeremy. Stonebridge Wealth Systems, as we're talking about the hidden dangers that you have, 3 of them in specific. And we talked about the medical worry. We kind of touched on inflation. I'm going to go more inflation. Why? My goodness, it's 25% more expensive than when we hit pandemic. That's reason enough, but why is inflation figured into plans, and why do we have to figure it into plans even beyond medical?
Yeah, so inflation, a lot of times when we look at plans, historically it hasn't been included. But any plans that we put together, we definitely want that included. And it's an easier conversation with most people, especially since 2020. They've seen, this, the cost of eggs, everything that they go buy at the grocery store, they know that that's up, right? The cost of that has been up significantly. The challenge with inflation is that it's not something that, you see this gigantic amount of money coming out of your paycheck every month or anything like that. It's a slow erosion of buying power over time. And so A good example of this, kind of the way that I relate it is, if you think about your retirement savings, it's kind of like the air in a car tire, right? So you continue to inflate that every year. You're saving. And let's just say that that's at 35 psi. Okay, so we got 35 psi. We've worked hard. We've filled that tire up over decades. We're driving our car now through retirement. Everything is great. Life's good. Well, if I start to have a slow leak in that tire and I'm losing 2.7% of inflation, or that's a leak every day or every year, the first year I'm not going to notice that. Probably the second year I may not notice it. But that third year, now I'm starting to get down to where my 35 psi tire is now at 26 psi.
That's a problem.
That's a problem. That's where your ride's going to get a little bumpier. You're going to start to notice it. After 20 years, you're riding on 20 psi of
That's
air.
about where my wife likes to.
Comfortable there.
That's a good point. Most people are uncomfortable in that situation because
Most.
you can
What's this
tell.
light for?
So the handling gets dangerous.
Yes.
Right. You're vulnerable to a blowout. There's things that we obviously want to. We need to take care of that problem. And so, a lot of times, inflation is just something that's just. It's a hard conversation to have with people just because they're like, well, I know that's there. Like everyone's telling me it's 2.7%. We talked about healthcare, the inflation of healthcare. If you're paying for college, I'm paying for college right now. The inflation of college is way above 2.7%. So it's something that is constantly eroding our buying power and something that you have to account for every year.
I have this up on the screen. You may have just walked in, stonebridgeretirement.net. Scan the QR code. This is a preparedness quiz for you. You can't fail it, so don't worry about it, but it may give you information on what you do and do not know and where you need to go to try and figure out how I'm going to put all of these hidden problems in the rearview mirror. Social Security, Tim, is supposed to deal with our cost of living adjustments, right? We get cost of living adjustments.
CPIW, the average increase for urban wage and clerical workers, CPIW. So they've talked about changing this to like CPIE, which is supposed to be CPI of the elderly, because CPIW doesn't really track the expense patterns of retirees because it's for working people, not people who are spending more of their money on healthcare, for example. But it doesn't change the numbers that much. It has more to do with the government. They have government math, right? Which is different than like real people math.
Real math, yes.
And so I mentioned the healthcare thing where they said, oh, healthcare expenses have actually come down. Well, because they changed how they calculate it. Rather than looking at how much you're spending, like the increase in your premium, they looked at like the retained earnings of the insurance companies. And they said, well, the insurance companies, technically, they're spending more money on your care. So more of your premium is going to pay for your health care. Therefore, you're getting more bang for your buck. There's more value here for every dollar you pay. So really, that's like a savings. Same thing with cell phones. They say cell phone prices have gone down. Why? Because there's more computing power in my iPhone than what they used to put a man on the moon. Okay, great, but I'm still paying more than my dad paid for his flip phone. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It does more, I get that, but it's still more out of pocket. So at the end of the day, you have to have a comprehensive, balanced approach to retirement. It can't be laser focused on trying to beat the market, because if all you're focused on is trying to win by picking stocks or things like that, you're in for a world of disappointment. This is crazy, I just read this the other day. From 2003 to the end of 2025, we had a 3-year bull market. It was the 8th time in history where the stock market has churned out 15+% returns for 3 years in a row. Everyone's wondering, well, what does that mean next, Tim? We don't know. It's a mixed bag. The other 7 times, it was like up 4 and down 3, I think, like that. So we don't know. The point is, over that same time period, 42% of all the stocks that trade on like the S&P or the NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange, 42% of them lost money. So almost half of the stocks, of all the stocks that you could have bought, were down over that time period. So what we do isn't about trying to pick winners. It's about having a comprehensive solution that looks at the whole picture so that you're ready for life's consistent inconsistencies and these things that are the silent killers of retirement, like inflation.
It feels complicated, doesn't it? which is why you need perspective and help to go through it. We're going to end talking a little bit about Social Security. How secure do you feel about that? The idea on this, scanning the QR code, is to get you ready for some of that. It's not to take you through. That's what a comprehensive financial plan will do. And you call the number for that to say, I don't get all of this. I need some help. I would like to walk through some of the hidden problems and even some of the ones that I know. 866-256-7778. Let's get you into and through retirement with money until your last breath. What are we selling? Peace of mind, so that you can feel good about where you're going and that it's going to last. Make the call. Be right back.
Are you ready to retire? It's a simple question, but one that too many people can't answer with confidence. If you've saved some money, that's great, but have you thought about how long it needs to last? What about Social Security, healthcare costs, taxes? We created a retirement reality check to help you answer all of that. It's a quick self-assessment that gives you a score based on how ready you are across these 5 key areas of retirement planning. In just a few minutes, you'll have a clearer picture of where you stand and where you might need a second opinion. You don't have to guess, and you don't have to do it alone. The quiz is free, and it's a great way to start a serious retirement conversation. Scan the QR code and do the retirement reality check today.
Grateful you're with us. Retirement Compass. Brad Johansen along with Tim and Jeremy, Stonebridge Wealth Systems. We're talking about the hidden risks that you may have. And Social Security, it's out there. It doesn't feel like it's hidden. What do we need to know, Tim, Social Security-wise, going forward? Because we're already told it's insolvent, and it's going to officially be insolvent. Who knows, depending on the year, 31, 32, 33. What do we need to know right now?
I think the most important thing is we have to operate with the information we have, which is whether you, like some people, like they're trying to be of the mind that I want to get it while I can get it. I heard there's going to be a cut.
So I got to take it quick.
I got to take it quick. Well, then you have a double cut. You have the permanent cut because you're taking it early. And so like if you take it at 62 instead of 67, that's a 30% haircut. And that doesn't go away. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Right? And then you're still going to get another 23% haircut on top of that if they do cut benefits. So it's really not a race. There's not a prize for taking it early or late. It's using a strategy that's custom tailored to fit your unique financial situation, and everybody's different. There's no one size fits most. If you look at what most of like the academics will say, they still want to push people to use the bridge strategy, so to speak, which is, hey, use your make sure that you have taxable account savings, use that to bridge to age 70 because longevity risk is a risk multiplier because the longer you live, the more likely you are to have a healthcare event, the more likely you are to have an economic recession or some sort of market crash event, even a black swan event. You're gonna go through more market cycles, drawdowns, bear markets. I understand all that. That's just not how we do planning. We don't say like, let's use a rule of thumb. I don't wanna use a rule of thumb. I wanna use what's right for you. Could there be changes? Yes, but that's why when we design plans, we design them and stress test them to say, hey, what if there's a 23% cut to Social Security? Are you still okay? And if the answer is no, let's turn some knobs, pull some levers to make sure that we get it to a point where you are okay.
I'm going to throw a curveball here, Jeremy, because we don't have a whole lot of time. And we talked about sometimes doing medical in a silo. We have to make sure that we understand this. How many couples are doing this Social Security in a silo? He's doing this, the wife is doing this, and there is no strategy on trying to figure out this. Problem? Yes, no.
It's a big problem. And most of the time when you talk about filing for Social Security, a lot of times when people come in, they say, well, we're both going to do it at 66 and a half or 67. That doesn't always make sense. What if your spouse stayed home and she didn't really earn wages to get a Social Security benefit? So it's a big problem because, again, we want to say, okay, as a husband or wife, if they were the higher income earner, what's going to happen when they pass away? When one of them passes away, we've talked about widowers on the shows, and we've talked about it with taxes and all those other things. The point is, we want to maximize Social Security benefits to maximize their plan. so that they don't have that risk of running out of money. And Tim was talking about stress testing. That's one of the things that I think is an easy way to figure out where are we lacking in our retirement plan. It could be Social Security if it's reduced by, I've heard it 19% it needs to be cut by. I've heard 23%, I've heard 27%. It doesn't matter. The likelihood of it being cut, it's possible. So what happens if it is? Or what happens if the market doesn't perform like you're expecting? What happens if inflation is greater than what we think it will be? We can run all of that right in our software, and we can show people right in our office. And it's amazing how you can see, well, we've done a good job of saving money. We've got a couple $1 million, but we're spending too much, and that we're invested all in bonds or treasury notes or something where we're not really earning anything. So you can illustrate that to determine what is the risk to their portfolio and what is going to cause them to potentially run out of money. The stress testing, I think, is probably one of the biggest things that we can do for people to give them that peace of mind. As you mentioned, that's what we're really offering. It's peace of mind. It's not, a grandiose plan that, just has a magic wand and you put your hat on and you get to go do whatever you want to do. It's what is it that you want to do? Can we do that? And what are the risks to making that not happen? That's where the stress testing comes in.
Final thoughts about how important it is to put together a plan with the runway that you've got right now.
The way I see it, folks really have three options, okay? They can keep going the way they're going and accept lower satisfaction and more uncertainty and just chalk it up to a cost of being comfortable. They can do the hard work themselves and learn how to organize all these things in a balanced, comprehensive approach to retirement planning. Or there is a third option, right? And that is to work with a team that's already been down this path, that knows how long the runway is, knows when to take off, when to pull the landing gear, and how to get you to your destination and get you there safely.
866-256-7778. Want some help? It's there for you. Let's get you in to put together a comprehensive plan that is yours and yours alone. It's too hard to navigate the first time. And you only want to do it once. Stonebridge Wealth Systems is there for you. We're grateful you spend time watching, and you've watched. Now come into the office, do something for yourself, because we'll be right back here next time on the Retirement Compass.